Okay, we're going to take a look at the hugely successful and at one point incredibly overplayed More Than Words by Extreme. If Smoke on the Water gave a guitar riff that could be played in music shops around the world on the electric guitar and just annoy everyone on a Saturday afternoon, then surely Nuno Bettencourt & Co. did exactly the same thing for all those people who went out and bought acoustic guitars. I remember when this track came out, I actually bought this album on import and it cost me a fortune. And a few months later it was on general release. And this single was a massive, massive success in that kind of Simon and Garfunkel kind of vein, I suppose, with the just two voices and the acoustic guitar, and the bass player and the drummer of the band were left waving lighters in the video. I remember quite a few people went out and bought this record, and the rest of it was just shredding guitar and heavy riffs, and they ended up either trying to take it back or convince themselves that they liked it. But nonetheless, this was a great track. I was actually fortunate enough to see the band on this very tour and watch them play it live. It always went down very well. Anyway, the basis of the track is quite straightforward, really. There's probably probably three sections to it, actually. And played completely finger style. I've actually got my Washburn acoustic with me today, just for a little bit of a change, which, funnily enough, Nuno would have recorded it and played it on a Washburn acoustic. I'm not too sure which model. I know he had his own signature model out at one point, which was this incredibly thin bodied guitar, but so being slightly authentic, I suppose. The basic technique behind the track, which you're going to have to master, is to be able to dissect the chord. If I'm holding a G chord, which is the first chord of the track, I'm playing the second fret A, third fret bottom E, and the third fret of the top two strings. You should really assign your thumb to the bass strings, or the bottom three strings, your first finger on the G string, your second finger on the B string, and your third finger on the top E. And simply, as you strike the bass string, bring the other fingers up into your palm, which will sound them all simultaneously. And then we can actually play other notes in the bass. That's the basic technique, although not being played with such a cheesy rhythm. But you should maybe try and practice something like that. Just enabling you to separate the bass from the higher register notes of the chord. The thing that really, for me, kind of tops this track off is the fact that it is just an acoustic guitar, but it's still very rhythmical because of the fact that when Nuno plays the chords, he then slaps the strings with his picking hand. So gives it a really nice rhythmic feel, and you don't really notice that it's just one person playing the guitar. So this is why it makes for a great, acoustic track to add to your repertoire, even if you're not much of a singer, to get those high notes. Okay, I'm going to play through the introduction of the track, and then we'll break down what's going on with the chords. But basically, with the slapping technique, it does vary throughout the record, but obviously we're just trying to break this down into a reasonably short lesson and something that's kind of digestible and manageable for you. Try to imagine where the snare drum would fall. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're on 2 and 4. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And I'm still holding the chord, but I'm literally just kind of slapping my hand down on the strings, giving it that percussive sound. So just tap your hands on the strings, but make sure it's on beats 2 and 4. Like I said, it does alter, so if you want to be really authentic, once you've got the parts down from this abbreviated lesson, then maybe you can have a listen to the original recording. Anyway, here's the introduction. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, starts off with the G major chords. So play the root note, and then play the higher register strings, the top 3 strings, slap, and then play the B note on the 2nd fret of the A string at the same time as you play the top 3. So then play the top 3. Now we play a C add 9 chord, and that's basically the same as the G chord, but with the 2nd fret D and the 3rd fret A. So. Okay, same kind of idea with the rhythm, slightly different at the end. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So at that point, and 3 and, we play the chord twice. And we're doing that kind of grabbing technique where my 3 fingers of my picking hand actually go up into the palm of my hand. So. Now we play an A minor 7th chord, so that's 1st fret B and 2nd fret D, open G, open A and open top E. And we do the same thing again, kind of separate the chord. Play the root note after the slap, and then we add our little finger on the top E at the 3rd fret, and then take it away. So. Now we play a C chord, and we just grab the whole chord together, and then play the top half. Now we play the D chord. Okay, we're just playing the top 2 strings and the D string. Then play the G string, and then add your little finger on the top E at the 3rd fret to turn that into a sus4. So you get, or you can just. I'll do that bit again. You can actually play it like this, which is a little easier. Which is just playing the bottom string well, the D string and the top 3 strings together, and then the D string again, and then add your little finger. So, you know, it kind of varies. So as long as you get the basic feel and the rhythm, I think that's the important thing. So one more time. And round again. So make sure that the chords are changing on the push. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you're always on the end of each beat. That's what I mean by the push. Okay, let's take a look at the first verse. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that took us up to the chorus, or the beginning of the first chorus. So to start with, pretty much the same. G, then the G with the B and the root note. C add 9. A minor 7th. D to D sus. G, G over B. C add 9. A minor 7th. Now at this point we change to E minor, so after that last D and D sus, we're then E minor. Okay, so just playing the bottom E string and the top 2, then play the top 3, then from the A string at the 2nd fret with the top 3, then the top 3, so you get now to the A minor 7th, add the note on the 3rd fret of the top E. Okay, so one more time for E, 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we play a D7th chord, and for the D7th, that's 2nd fret G and top E and 1st fret B. So we got 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4. So 1, 2 and 3 and 4. You're literally just grabbing at that chord. There's no separation there. Then we play the G chord. Now we have this, which is, I suppose you could call this it's a D add 9, I suppose, with the F sharp in the bass, or D sus2 over F sharp. It depends which side of the pond you live, whether you're American or whether you're UK, whether you call it an add 9 or an add 2. But I like to look at that as being an add 9 because we've still got the 3rd in the bass. So we have the G. Now we have the D add 9 over F sharp. Now we have E minor again, and then the E minor with the B in the bass. So one more time. Make sure you work on that separation. You can hear me playing the lower parts and then the whole of the top of the chord. Okay, let's take a look at the chorus now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the chorus kicks off on A minor. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Separate. Add your little finger on the 3rd fret, the top E. Now we have the D. Just a regular D here. Okay, that plays on beat 1, and then it's all pushed. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Now we have a G7th chord, which is the 1st fret of the top E, 2nd fret A, and 3rd fret at the bottom E. And for that, we're just playing the bottom strings on the top 3. Now from the 2nd fret A. Now we have a C. So that's... And then once we play the C, we do our regular separation thing, so. Now we have a C minor chord. For that, we've got a bar across the 3rd fret of the A string and play our, it's an A minor shape, basically. So that's right across the 3rd fret of from the A string to the top E, 5th fret D, 5th fret G, and 4th fret B. So that's... same thing again, just separating, higher register and the low register part of the chord. Now to G. And then for this section, we've got this little rundown. So from the G chord, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and... There's that little rundown there. So that's from the G, 2nd fret bottom E, open E minor 7th chord, the E minor 7th chord in the open position is just 2nd fret, A and D, and 3rd fret of the top 2 strings. And for that part, we simply play the root note on the bottom E at the same time as we play the top strings, and then the same on the A string and the D string, and back to the A string. So every time you play those 3 notes, E, B, E, B, we simply play the top 2 strings. Now rake an A minor 7th and rake a D 7th. Okay, what I'm going to do for you now is just play a slightly slower version of the verse and the first chorus, just to give you something to practice along with. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Okay, a little more up to speed. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's take a look at the next section, kicking off with the second verse. Now, this second verse is slightly different. This is only really the other section that we need to worry too much about, apart from the outro. So I'll play it through for you, and then we'll break it down. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's break down that section that we just played through. It's pretty similar to the first verse, but slightly different at the front end, and also has an extra chord, the chord of B minor 7. So to begin with, we're holding our G chord, and we pedal off of the root note and off the third on the A string. But we repeat that twice instead of going up to the C add 9. We then play our D chord with the open top E and the F sharp in the bass, so our D sus2 over F sharp, or our D major, D add 9 over F sharp, whatever you want to call it, same difference. Same thing there, hold the bass note with our thumb and strike that as we play the G and the B, and then play the top 3. Now we have our E minor chord. First of all with the low E in the bass, then secondly with the B in the bass, and then we play a B minor 7th. Now to the C chord. Now we have this chord, which is a G over B, and for that you only want to play the top 2 strings, open G, and the 2nd fret of the A string. Now to the A minor 7th, add your little finger, and D7, and then round again. And D, E minor, B minor 7th, C, G over B, A minor 7th, and then we rake and hold the D7th chord. Then we're back into some familiar territory with our original progression, but at the end of that we hold the A minor 7th, then we play the D7th, 2, 3 and 4, and we literally just tap the guitar on 3 and 4. Okay, I'm going to play through the next verse for you. Pretty much the same, but again, just some real subtle variations, mainly a dynamic and rhythmic variation, plus we have a rather posh chord at the end of this section. So I'm just going to play through it and then just highlight these points and bring them to your attention. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. Okay, the main point is the hold me close, don't ever let me go line. I think it's something like that, because the way that the Gary Sharon, the singer, sings it, Nuno really outlines that on the acoustics. You get the 2, 3, 4. And then he kind of picks up the little kind of rhythmic slap on the guitar after strumming the E minor again. So that it's like a G chord, then the D over F sharp, little figure we've seen, then the E minor, then a very kind of cut off accented E minor strum, and then some little slaps on the strings there, just bringing you back into the A minor. Then the D. We've seen this section before. C minor, G, A minor 7th, D 7th, really nice chord there. We play the D7th, and then we slide that up to so that our first finger is now on the 4th fret, and our second and third fingers at the 5th fret. Exactly the same shape. And that's just the D7 with a sharp 9. Really, really lovely sound. Did I say sharp 9? I meant flat 9. D7 flat 9. Okay, then we're into our next section. Okay, here's the next section. We've already seen this section, so I'm just going to play it for you, and you can use this as an excuse to practice along. But if you remember our 2 verses, this is the second verse that we did with the ever so slight variation around the G chord and the added B minor 7th. Here we go. 3, 4. Just one thing to point out, that occasionally Nuno will rake the chords as well, so you might get something like so you'd actually run your thumb across, or you could also roll your fingers. It's quite a nice effect as well. Okay, let's take a look at the outro section now for you. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that section should be fairly familiar to you, and just a couple of little variations with some of the rakes that go on with specific chords. And also there's like a syncopated section that's very, very dynamic. For that, I'll just play it for you slowly so you can get a general idea of what's going on. So we go from the G to C, A minor 7th, back to C, D. So it's just certain stabbing points. If you ever listen to the original and how it fits around, it's almost like a question and answer with the vocals. Okay, we come out of that section one more time, or out of the original progression one more time, and then we're into this little finger-picked part, which is around a G chord. Then the D over, D add 9 over F sharp, or D add 2, D sus2. Now we drop our second finger down to our first finger, so it's almost like you're playing the same. It's the D sus chord again, or the D add 2 chord with an F in the bass, so it's giving it almost like a minor tonality to the D chord, because F is the minor third. So it's just the first fret of the bottom E, second fret G, and third fret B, open top E. So now an E sus4, which is the second fret A, D, and G. Right across that chord. And gradually start to hold back at that point. Now we have the A minor 7th. Okay, then into the next section. Now, I was in two minds whether or not I should show you this, because this is meant to be like an easy acoustic rock basic breakdown, but I suppose this is a little bit of a fun part, especially if some of you are familiar with this technique. It definitely sounds like some kind of overdub that occurred at the end, but basically we play the open D and then play the 2nd fret of the top E to the 3rd fret to the 5th fret. And then we tap with our picking hand. I know it's all of a sudden from an acoustic ballad to this really untasteful bit of guitar at the end. So you're tapping between 17 and 15. It's more of one of those kind of licks where you just go for it, I think, is probably the best way to describe it. So 17, just basically rotating that 2, 3, 5, 3, 2, and then tap 17, 15, 17, 15, 14, 12, 10, 12, 10, down to 7. So you're literally just going down the scale. Like so. You can repeat that as many times as you like. I've actually got a live DVD of them, which I picked up in America, and he plays it completely different at the end. Once we get down to the 7th fret here, we do that twice, and then we hammer our little finger onto 5 on the B string and tap 7, tap 9, then 7, and pull off exactly the same. Now hammer on 4 on the G, tap 7, pull off 4, pull off 2, pull off open, and then that's just 4, 2 and open, and then do the same again. And then at the end, strike some harmonics across the 7th fret, and then bend the neck of your guitar. I didn't tell you to do that because I don't want people sending us emails and writing in saying the guitars have snapped in half. But just a very, very free-form lick at the end, and whenever I play it, I tend to make it up as I go along a little bit because that's what he did. That's the idea. So I even played it differently that time. I ended up tapping more notes. So just as long as you get the general vibe, but probably most of you won't even want to include that part. Okay, let's have a look at the final little finger-picked outro, and then that will pretty much do it for More Than Words. So here we go. 3, 4. Okay, so we got our G chord, arpeggiate across that. E, A, G, B, E, B, G, and then back to the A string. Now the C add 9 chord, so just drop those fingers down. And when we play that, play the B string at the same time as the A. So A and B, G, top E, and then back to B. Repeat the pattern, but play the 2nd fret of the A string, so you get a G over B. So now move that down to the 1st fret, so it's like a G minor chord over B flat, and then the A minor, and then play the 3rd fret top, E of the A minor 7th, side up to 5, and then hammer on 3, 5, back to 3, and then. Okay, let's just put the whole of the outro together so that you can hear and see how the several sections and the funny little out of place lick fit together with the end of the track. Here we go. 3, 4. That's the kind of thing you should be aiming for. Like I said, the lick alters every time that I've seen him do it, so as long as you get the basic idea, and I just think at the end, you know, play as fast as you can. It's not really particularly audible on the track, and then just strike those harmonics and try to be careful if you do decide to bend the neck. But I was in two minds whether or not to show you that little phrase anyway, and I think that the song works probably a lot better without it, just going into the little outro section. And that concludes More Than Words.